Ya, aku mulai ya. Uh, Hello everyone, we are from Group 11 and today we are going to talk about pragmatics. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Ailsefina Spasia and my last student number is 115. This is my group members. Okay, first thing first, I'm going to talk about what is pragmatics. The area of linguistics that put meaning into context is called pragmatics. We do not only look at words and sentences to find meaning, but we also need to look at the context to understand what is going on. Pragmatics is the practical use of language. It includes the study of how people use language to establish their identities through social meaning, express emotions through affective meaning, perform speech acts with performative sentences, and carry on conversations with others. Okay, the first one in pragmatics is social meaning. The meaning conveyed by the piece of language about social context of its use is called the social meaning. Social meaning tells us about the social identity of the speaker. In fact, it tells us more information about the speaker than the referent. The decoding of a text is also dependent on our knowledge of stylistics and other variations of the language. These examples below show 5 different dialects and 5 different words in different regions. These sentences above have social meaning because they tell the listener something about the speaker's regional origin, social class, or educational level. Stylistic variation represents the social variation. Style helps us to know about the period, field, and status of the discourse. Some words are similar to others as far as their conceptual meaning is concerned, but they have different stylistic meanings. People often consider the social meaning of their speech when they change from one manner of speaking to another in order to give an appropriate impression. This is called code switching. The next one is affective meaning. Affective meaning conveys the emotion of the speaker. By the choice of synonyms, the speaker describes an event while giving an emotional reaction to it. The following sentences have the same referential meaning, but a different affection meaning. The first one is, the movie we saw was 12 and a half minutes long. We sat through the movie that was more than 2 hours long. The movie seemed to be over in a flash, even though it was actually more than 2 hours long. The first sentence expressed a neutral feeling. The second one suggests that the speaker was bored or unhappy about the movie's length, and the third implies that the viewer enjoyed the movie.
Okay, my name is Mayra Fadila with last student number 120, and I'm gonna explain about speech acts. All of the sentences and phrases that we have been talking about so far in this chapter have a meaning because the words that they contain convey information about either the speaker or the referent of the words. There are descriptive sentences because they convey descriptive information. But other sentences actually do something and in doing so exhibit the force of language. There are speech acts. By pronouncing these sentences, the speaker is performing an action. Of course, for the action to take place, the sentences have to be said in the correct context and by the correct person. For example, I hereby sentence you to 10 years in jail. I bet you $100. I warn you to stay away from the edge of the cliff. Next. These performative sentences not only convey information, but in the correct context, they also perform the act of pronouncing, sentencing, betting, warning, pleading, and promising. For instance, if a judge at the end of a trial says, I hereby sentence you to 10 years in prison, the defendant will spend 10 years in prison unless the judge's statement is reversed or modified. Performative sentences can also perform the act of requesting information, as in the question, are you ready? I'm asking you if you are ready. or they can perform the act of ordering, as in, do your homework. I'm telling you to do your homework. People of many cultures exhibit their awareness of the power of the spoken word to change the social environment when they warn their children to mind their tongue or watch what they say.
Okay, hello, my name is Karina Rizky Amanda with last student number 118. The next part I'm going to explain is about discourse analysis. So discourse analysis is the process of discovering the rules that govern a series of connected utterances or a discourse, such as a conversation, story, lecture, or any other communication event. The first form of discourse analysis are a or an and the. One of the rules of English discourse governs the choice between the indefinite articles a or an and the definite article the, depending on what has been stated before in the discourse. So the first example. Once upon a time, there was a princess who was very sad. You see, when the princess was born, an evil witch cast a spell. The spell could only be broken by the evil witch if the princess did as she was told. So within this little story fragment, there is new information and old or given information. The new information is information that the speaker believes is being introduced to the listener for the first time. It must be identified by the article a or an. Notice that the first time the princess, the evil witch, and the spell are mentioned, the words are preceded by the article a or an. However, the second time these items are mentioned, they are considered old or given information and must be preceded by the article the. And then number two is English pronouns. Pronouns are one of the categories of words that exhibit deixis. Deixis is a property of words that shift reference, that change meaning according to the context. Pronouns are deictic in that they change meaning according to the rule of discourse. For example, is this conversation between Richard and Ed. I have a lot of work to do. Do you? Yes, I do. Does Phil have a lot to do? Yes, he does. When Richard uses the word I, the meaning of the word is Richard. But when Ed uses the same word, it means Ed. On the other hand, Richard uses the word you to mean Ed, and as the conversation continues, Ed might use you to mean Richard. And they can both use he to revert to Phil. In fact, he can revert to any man, boy, or male animal. So to make the referent clear, the first time Phil is mentioned in the discourse, his name must be used as new information. The pronoun can only be used at the second mention because now the referent is clear. It is old information. And then the third one are this or that. English distinguishes between two distances or positions in pairs. For example, this house is brown, but that house is blue. In the preceding sentence, the use of this and that indicates that the speaker is standing closer to the brown house than the blue house. But if she walks closer to the blue house, then the blue house becomes this house, and the brown one becomes that house. And then number four are the here and there. Here and there can also be deictic in regard to place. For example, I live here. I'm going on vacation there. While on vacation here, I send postcards to my neighbors there. Here and there change meaning depending on where the speaker is at the time of the statement. And then number five, coming and going. Coming and going are both verbs that have similar semantic properties in that they indicate movement, but they differ in the position of the speaker. If something is moving toward the speaker, it is coming. If it is moving away from the speaker, it is going. And the last one is presupposition. It is the set of assumptions that the speaker makes about the listener's knowledge or circumstances. These assumptions are necessary in order to make an utterances meaningful. It is another way in which the context of the utterance within the discourse affects how it is stated and what words are chosen. For example, if two people are speaking about a mutual acquaintance, they can simply use the friend's name with no further explanation, which is, Alan told a great joke today at lunch. But if a person is speaking to someone who doesn't know Alan, further explanation is required, which is, Alan, a colleague of mine who has a great sense of humor, told a great joke at lunch today. After that explanation, an Alan's identification becomes old information, and in subsequent sentences in this conversation can be referred to simply as Alan or he. Sometimes presuppositions are implied, as in the questions, have you stopped smoking? The presupposition is that the person referred to by the word you smoked in the past, and the speaker of the sentence knew it. Furthermore, the question presupposes that the speaker doesn't know if the person referred to by the word you has continued to smoke. And the second question, have you tried smoking? The presupposition is that the speaker does not believe that the person he is talking to is a regular smoker, and he doesn't know if that person has ever tried it.
So my name is Lunasku Daninusa and my last student number is 119. And the next point in pragmatics is greeting rituals. Hello, how are you? Is the example of greeting rituals. And then how important for the social function. In each culture, greeting rituals are accompanied by specific behaviors, such as shaking right hands, bowing, patting the shoulder, hugging, kissing, smiling, making eye contact, and averting the gaze. So each region or culture has a different greeting. One of the unique countries in the West Apache, they actually keep silent when greeting each other. In their culture, for anyone who has just met for a long period of time, they can be silent for a minute or even days. Silence here is interpreted as, as a time to adjust to each other to be able to talk to each other. So that the end, greeting each other is something that has a social function.
Maxim of conversation. My name is Moren Janip with the last student number 117. The maxim of conversation are the cultural expectation that guide people when they are conversing. They are based on the cooperative principle which assume that each person is trying in good faith to communicate and understand. Next. Conversational maxim in English. The first one is quantity. Say neither more nor less than is required. Quality. Say only what you believe to be the truth. Relevance. Say only what is appropriate for the topic. Manner. Be brief, concise, and clear. For example, here are some conversation. Hi, how are you? Fine, how are you? Fine. This is just a greeting ritual, not asking any detail. You're observing the maximum of quantity and relevance. Next. Here are all the other conversational maxim in English. The first one is quantity. Where did you go? Out. What did you do? Nothing. This is a wrong example because the adolescent say that he went out. Other parent would have happened to observe what she was doing. And of course, the adolescent did more than nothing, or she will have gone out of the house to do it. The maximum of quantity requires that the adolescent respond, telling where she went, the mall, the movies, a friend's house, and what she did. Brought some clothes, saw a particular movie, socials with a friend. The next is quality. Say only what you believe to be the truth. Maximum of quantity, the speaker will say neither more nor less than is required. What time is it? 9:15. In this exchange, the maximum of quality requires that you are being truthful in your ignorance of time and your classmate is being truthful in giving reliable information. The next is relevance. Say only what is appropriate for the topic. Outdoor, a comment on the weather may be a conversation starter, such as hot enough for you? But indoor, a comment like view, it's hot in here. Brr, I keep my coat on. In this exchange, the relevance can be interpreted as a request for air conditioning, heating, closing the door, opening a window, whatever will be relevant to the situation. This kind of comment function as an indirect request. The last is manner. Be brief, concise, and clear. The culture of the classroom allow the teacher to ask theoretical question of the class. Everyone understand that the teacher already know the answer to the question, that the purpose is to further the discussion. Therefore, the maximum of quality has not been violated.
Okay, it's me again, Mayra Fadila with student number 120. The last part is cross-cultural maxims of conversation. The maxims of conversation are different in other cultures. The maxim of manner is particularly variable from one culture to another. In the Middle East, when food is offered, the maxim of manner requires that the guest politely refuse the offer several times and the host repeat the offer several times too before it's accepted. The second example is in Japan, the concept of enryo, meaning restraint or reserve, requires that the speaker practice a kind of verbal reticence in approaching a topic of conversation, especially when giving a negative answer. The maxim of manner in Japanese requires that the topic be approached in a roundabout fashion, mentioned indirectly before the main point is raised. In contrast, the maxim of manner in English requires that speakers not beat around the bush, but speak right up. There are specific forms of Japanese verbs that allow the speaker to admire an offer but decline it. The phrase "enryo shimasu" is approximately equivalent to the English phrase "I would love it, but I can't." The Japanese also observe a modesty maxim. When they are complimented, they deny the compliment rather than accepting it by saying thank you. And when giving a gift, they often tell the recipient that the gift is useless and of no value. Okay, that's all from our group. Thank you for listening and have a great day.